Oh, look at that. Huh. What do you know? How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Dave TV for November 7th, the day after Election Day. And, this isn't really a surprise for me. I kind of figured this was going to happen, but I don't know. I like Obama. I think he's a great guy. So there we go. Oh, yes. November 7th. 2012 edition of Dave TV. It's my sister's birthday, so happy birthday, sis. But anyhow, yeah, I called her up at 11:13 last night, just as NBC. I was watching MSNBC. I was watching MSNBC, and they called it for Obama at 11:13, and I called her up, and she was like, yeah. So there we go. Obama wins. I haven't even opened my paper today. Let's see, election 2012. I wonder if they have the... Okay, so there we go. That's how it's a little dated here. Virginia's been called for Obama. Ohio has. Montana's been called for Romney. Florida is still too close to call as of I'm doing this at 7:30 on November 7th in the morning there. But it's leaning toward Obama and probably will go into his camp later today. So that's cool. I'm just curious if they put the Virginia. I'm just curious if they have the Virginia numbers in here. La da 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 da. I'm pretty sure Fairfax County went for Obama, but I'm not sure how Loudoun Prince William went. But in any case, we have to say one of the big losers, I think, today, other than the GOP and Mitt Romney, would have to be WMAL. Just have to rub it in. Here's a radio station that, when you look at the money demo, doesn't do too well, even though they're on 2 frequencies. They're pretty much a right-wing talk station, and just about everything they stand for and campaign for loses, at least yesterday, across the board, throughout their coverage area. I'm not saying that they shouldn't talk about conservative politics. I think there's certainly a place for that on the radio dial. But I also think that they need to mix it up more. And they need to say, now look, this is the Washington market. It's a big mix of different opinions. In fact, a lot of people disagree with what we think on this station, and we need to mix it up more. We need to be more diverse. We need to be have more opinion on the station. I think that's the ticket for them to get rating success and not just being a one-voice kind of thing. And I'm also really, really glad that people like Chris Plante and Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity are probably really pissed off today. Some of these people, I think, some of the people on MAL, like the old Brian Neiman, who's not there anymore, and Brian Wilson, is a conservative, but at least he seems to be fairly sane. You listen to Chris Plante, the guy's just a lunatic, or at least that's what he's playing on the radio. A lot of his stuff is not only unfair, but it's just sad. A lot of the stuff he said about Obama was just really tasteless if you sat and listened to it. A lot of what Limbaugh does, now here's an interesting thing about Rush Limbaugh, okay? Here's this guy who's been on the radio for, 15, 20 years, considers himself, and he's considered by many to be the king of conservative talk radio. And he gets on the air and just, it's like he takes a paycheck from the GOP and just shills stuff. You know how he does shilling stuff in his show for sponsors? He just works it into the show. All of a sudden he's talking about the credit reporting agency, or he's talking about the Heritage Foundation. He just works it into the show, and you know they're paid sponsors. So he's doing the same thing with the GOP. I mean, at least it seems like he's taking paychecks to shill for them. It just, even though Mitt Romney is, as far as the Republicans are concerned, kind of a liberal. He's from Massachusetts. He advocated a kind of Obamacare-ish kind of thing for Massachusetts. He isn't a real conservative Republican. Yet, he has an R by his name, so Limbaugh's in there, full bore, this big, bloated, grunting man. and you listen to some of the stuff, and it wasn't just, you know, hey, I agree with Romney, I disagree with Obama. Some of the stuff that was said was really, really, really nasty and tasteless. And I'm not going to get into all of that, but I do have to say, you know, I really think maybe it's time Limbaugh kind of says, hey, I've been here long enough. You know, I couldn't help the party much in 2008. I couldn't help the party much in 2012. Maybe it's time to say adios, amigos, and go, you know, permanently start working, you know, spend some time on the golf course or cruising for sex down there in the Dominican Republic. I don't know. But I think, you know, local media-wise, you know, the Post was okay. I think the Post, look, what are you going to say about the Post? You know, this thing's already kind of outdated when you look at the internet. I don't know. As far as me last night, I was tuned to the cable networks. I flipped from CNN to MSNBC to Fox, just back and forth all evening. You know, I think they all did a credible job. It was interesting to see big fat Karl Rove there on Fox News, you know, angry that they had called Ohio so early. And now here's another thing, Karl Rove. How many millions and millions and millions of dollars in that GPS super PAC did they spend? And at least locally, none of it seemed to matter. Tim Kaine won, and Obama won in Virginia, and you know, as Chris Matthews said on MSNBC this morning, you know, a lot of people just, there's so many of these political ads, they just tune them all out. You know, go ahead and spend your money. I guess the big media companies like Gannett and Hubbard and USA Today, you know, and they all love it because that's a huge pile of revenue for them. I'm sure their, you know, 2012 revenue numbers will be up for a lot of these TV stations because of so much advertising for the political season. But you know, Republicans and Democrats alike that I talk to, my friends, without a doubt, just were sick to death of all these ads. You know, it just turned them all off. You know, and let's hope that it won't happen, but let's hope they all go away next time. So as far as, I said CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, I flipped around. On the internet, you know, I have to tell you, these guys, Nate Silver, the guy there at the, what is it? I never remember this website, 538.com over at NewYorkTimes.com. He was right on the money. I think he was just about exactly correct on all the stations, on all the states he predicted there. And also Princeton election, they had a really good website that was also right on the money. So, you know, those, you know, I followed those. I didn't care that much about Gallup and Rasmussen and all these other polls, which tended to be kind of all over the place, kind of nutty. I think that Gallup especially has gotten a real kick in their credibility. You know, it's an irrelevant poll. It doesn't matter anymore. When you look at these mathematically based electoral college things like what Nate was doing and what Princeton was doing, and there was another one called Vote-Matic, even what Huffington Post was doing. You know, they were looking at the numbers and statistics and the histories and all that, and they proved to be really right on the money. You know, the election last night, statewide electoral college, turned out pretty much the way they predicted. So there. And Real Clear Politics, you know, I have mixed feelings about them. I think they're usually pretty good, but I think they kind of chickened out there with a lot of their, you know, pulling a lot of their, basically every state, all these states were swing states at the end there. And, you know, I think they were catering a little to the right wing and maybe some of those drudge links for their traffic. But last night, in terms of their coverage, in terms of reporting states as they were called, they did a pretty good job of that. And another, I think, another group or whatever really hurt by this election, I think, last night was the Drudge team, Joe Curl and the idiots over there at Drudge. Man, it's just turned it is really more than ever. It's always been a conservative-leaning site, but it's really turned into kind of a hype propaganda site. You know, it's a joke. Most people I know look at it and kind of laugh. It's kind of like almost a parody of a news website. It's so silly, and you know, they're just vindictive hate of our president. You know, you can disagree. I'll tell you, I didn't like Ronald Reagan much. Didn't like George W. Bush much. But I didn't hate the guys. Wasn't vindictively like these were evil men. I didn't agree with them. You know, I didn't like Ronald Reagan, but I didn't hate the man. I think I still always liked Reagan as a human being. George W. Bush, George's dad, the same way. You know, they weren't evil and even though you disagree with them, and yet you look at what Drudge and some of those sites like that are doing, and you say to yourself, they just despise this man. It's not just a disagreement. And that, to me, is really kind of perverted and weird, you know? And I really hope that, you know, Drudge gets back on track and at least, okay, conservative-leaning news, fine, but lose the hate. All right, folks, that's my Dave TV election, post-election coverage here. I didn't listen to any of the radio stations. Sorry. I know WTOP and MAL and WNEW were doing stuff, but, you know, hey, with the internet and cable TV, I didn't have time for radio. There, that's it. You know, too bad. Thanks for watching. It's going to be a fun 4 years now, right? So get a couple more libs on that Supreme Court, and who knows what's going to happen. Live long and prosper.